Hello witches, heathens, occultists, magicians. My name is Ivy. I am the occultist on YouTube and on Instagram. And today I kind of wanted to just sit in front of my camera and do a really unscripted, unstructured video talking about the magical technique of contingency spells. So we're going to talk about what contingency spells are. We're going to discuss some ways that you can use it in your magical practice. It's something I have recently started to utilize quite a bit, and I really feel like it's something that everybody needs to be aware of and that everybody should consider incorporating into their magical practice. Contingency spells are also known as tripwire spells by some magical practitioners in the community, and the tripwire term I believe actually derives from Chaotic Witch Ant, which if you're not familiar with them, definitely go check out their channel. I love Chaotic Witch Ant. Their energy is fantastic, but they actually call contingency spells tripwire spells, which I thought was really cute and adorable. I think that's a wonderful way to sum it up. But let's discuss what contingency spells are first, and then we'll go into how to use them in your magical practice. Hey witches, it's Editing Ivy. I am watching back the footage from this video and realizing that I am backlit for most of the video. The sun keeps shining in and out of that room, so I apologize for any lighting issues. I was gonna re-record the whole video, but then I thought, you know what? I don't want to, so I'm just gonna let you see the real raw footage or the real authentic version of myself, I guess, because it's not very cute, but that's okay. So anyways, I hope you enjoy. As a disclaimer, I would like to say if you are a beginner witch, I do have a video on how to cast a spell, and you will need to know the basics of how to cast a spell before learning about contingency spells, because I'm not really going to be discussing the basics of casting a spell in this video. So if you're interested, I'm going to link my video down below on how to cast a spell. Feel free to check that out if you are a beginner. But contingency spells are something that I started doing a long time ago, and then I kind of stopped doing them for a while, and recently it has sparked a new life in me again, and I have started incorporating them again. I don't know honestly why I stopped doing them, because they are fantastic. So contingency spells are based on if-then statements. So basically what that means is when you're in the portion of your spell where you're writing out your intentions, or you're saying your intentions out loud, whatever that looks like to you, you would basically say something like, if this were to happen, then this spell would activate and cause blank to happen. So a couple examples of this would be, if my bank account falls below X amount of money, then this spell will automatically activate and cause blank to happen to rise my bank account back up to where I want it to be. Another example could be, if someone were to hex me, then this spell will activate and automatically return to sender, return that energy twofold back to that original person who sent me that energy. So there's a lot of different variations that you can do with contingency spells, but it's basically like an emergency spell or a backup plan that you can have set in place that just automatically activates when the right conditions are met. And this is really helpful because this is something that you can incorporate into your protection magic as a protective measure to guard against negative energy, but you can use it in so many other areas of your life, not just with protection magic. And some people may be asking, why would I sit down and do all these spells for all these like fantasy things that could potentially happen or not happen? Why would I sit down and take the time to think about all the possible good things or terrible things that could be happening to me and make a backup spell based on that? And that is a valid point. However, there are certain times in my perspective where I feel like that's appropriate. If you are constantly worried about something, I find that it's a great way to deal with anxiety and worry is do this contingency spell. That way you can automatically have something in place and have a little bit more peace of mind when it comes to a specific matter. But contingency spells are also great if you are a person where your mood and your energy fluctuates quite a bit, because what you can do is when you are having a day where you're feeling really energized, you have a lot of extra energy, you're feeling really passionate and creative, you can perform these spells ahead of time and then have them activate later on, which is great because not everyone has the same energy levels each day. You know, sometimes I need a spell to be done, but I'm way too low energy, too exhausted to put the energy necessary into that spell. So it's nice to have these contingency spells in place and to do them on days when you feel better, when you feel more creative, more energized. And contingency spells are also great because you can do them during specific astrological timings. And this is something that I really wanted to talk about because I do quite a bit of planetary magic in my magical practice. So let's say there is a particular moon phase or a particular planetary transit or some sort of astrological phenomenon going on right now, but you don't necessarily need this spell right now. What you could do is do a contingency spell during that astrological period or doing that lunar phase and then set it to activate later on, or to either have a delayed response or to only activate when specific conditions are met. So let's say, for example, in astrological magic, let's just talk about planetary magic for a second. Let's say that Saturn, which I personally use for protection, I think Saturn is an excellent planet to use for protection. Let's say Saturn is doing something extra special. The astrological timing is just perfect for protection. You don't necessarily need it right now, but it would be really, really good to use in a return to sender spell. Side note, if you don't know what a return to sender spell is, it's basically a spell that returns all the energy, all the negative energy that someone has sent to you back to the original source. That energy does not belong to you. It does not need to stay around you. So you can really harness that planetary magic or that planetary energy, that astrological timing in the moment, even though you don't necessarily need that energy right now. You can utilize it by creating some sort of return to sender spell or some sort of protection spell that will set to activate at a later date. So you could write your intention as, if someone were to send me negative energy or something that I don't want, then this return to sender spell will automatically activate. And that way you're taking advantage of that placement that Saturn is currently in, and you have this safeguard against you for the future. Or let's talk about lunar magic for a second. You know, there's always full moons in particular zodiac signs that are really great for specific things, or there's a super full moon, or there's some sort of crazy moon situation happening right now, and you really, really want to take advantage of that energy. You can do a love working during this time. You could do a prosperity working in this time for money or wealth or whatever, and take advantage of that energy even though you don't necessarily need that item right now. And going back to the term tripwire spell, I first had heard this term from Chaotic Witch Ant, and I really, really enjoy it. I mean, I had already known about contingency spells. I had already done one before, and I've been, starting to incorporate it back into my magical practice. I really apologize for the light fluctuation. The sun keeps like shining in and out right now, but it is a good representation of what this spell actually does. It is literally a tripwire. So I definitely encourage you, if you don't already use contingency spells in your magical practice and you want to start getting into planetary magic or lunar magic and thinking about the timing of your spells a little bit more, or if you just want to use this as a means of utilizing your energy on days where you have more energy versus less, or maybe you are an anxious person and this is a good way of coping with that anxiety, just putting those contingency spells out into the world so you don't necessarily have to worry about specific things anymore. I definitely recommend incorporating this into your magical practice. But let's also talk about maintenance, because some people say with contingency spells, they don't last forever. And I tend to agree with this. I think that spells constantly need life and energy pushed into them. They need to be fed regularly in order to stay afloat. Otherwise, spells just kind of dissipate over time. They do tend to kind of fizzle out and work their way out. So if you do decide to cast a contingency spell, I definitely recommend renewing or redoing those contingency spells maybe every quarter or every 6 months or even once a year. You'll have to play around with the timing to see what feels right to you. There are no hard rules when it comes to this. I personally would redo my contingency spells maybe every 6 months, although it really just depends on what the spell is, how big it is, how important it is to me, how much energy that spell really needs in order to manifest. But just put a little mental note in your mind that they may need maintenance from time to time to stay active, to stay energized. And if you are interested in planetary magic, I did do a 2-episode series with the astrologer Molly. Hopefully we will eventually do an episode 3 in the future, but I will link episode 1 and 2 down below in the description box if you're interested in getting a little bit more information about planetary magic. It's definitely something I'm really passionate about. And also let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you do contingency spells? Is this something that you've heard of before, or tripwire spells, or whatever you happen to call them? Regardless, I hope that you found this magical technique helpful. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in a video very soon. Bye.